A word of relief from Thailand's Prime Minister. Abhisit Vijayjiva says he's seeing some signs the worst is over. His comments come after the economy fell into its first recession since the Asian financial crisis last quarter. Now, my colleague Shanti Nambia joins me now from our newsroom in Bangkok with the details. Shanti, what are these signs that he's talking about?
I think, the three issues that we can draw on in Thailand is one, that they have been very aggressive in cutting rates. The central bank has been, or was until late last year, quite cautious, on inflation and obviously given oil prices and what have you. But since then, they've had their most aggressive string of rate cuts. And I think what they're hoping is that those will start coming into or taking effect, into the market in the next 6 months or so, in the form of lower borrowing costs and bank lending. And I think, secondly, Abhisit is also optimistic because the government has been pushing the stimulus package. The first package they unveiled in March, which was worth about 116.7 billion baht. About 80% of that has been actually pumped into the economy, mostly in the form of cash to the nation's poorest. So I think he's also quite positive about the effect that it's going to have on the economy. And thirdly, I think Thailand, especially the equity markets, are benefiting from this massive inflow of funds we're seeing into emerging markets. Emerging markets, including emerging Asia, captured about 2.1 billion just in the first half alone. So that's quite a significant number, and obviously equity investors, are eyeing Thailand.
Is there a sense when we'll see a turnaround in the economy, when the GDP will come in positive, given Abhisit's optimism?
I think they are being realistic. Him and the finance minister, Korn, yesterday, they both said that we're probably going to see a contraction in the first, second, and third quarter. But given that perhaps, given the time lag in interest rates and perhaps the stimulus package, they're looking for a pickup in the GDP in the fourth quarter. And they've also given a forecast for the economy to grow as much as 2% next year. So the numbers look a little bit positive for next year.
Looking at banks now, Shanti, Moody's placed 11 Thai banks' ratings on review for a possible downgrade, saying the government's capacity to support the lenders may be constrained by its own borrowing limits. Has there been any reaction from Abhisit on that?
The Prime Minister did not talk about that issue, but the Finance Minister did, and the Central Bank has. And they've pretty much said that, the banks are very strong, they're well capitalized, and that the ratings actually refers to the government perhaps taking on more debt than what Moody's would like to see. And that is true. They're looking at a spending plan of about, or borrowing plan of about 1.6 trillion, which is really the largest since the ASEAN financial crisis. So I suppose for Moody's that's a bit of a worry. But the rating agency did say that the ratings, which may be downgraded, is constrained by the government's ability to support the bank. So it's not so much the banks themselves and whether they're well capitalized.
All right, Shanti Nambia in Bangkok.